Thank you very much, Joseph Otseng, for those visual and for the package, the background package. Let's bring in our guests to discuss this very burning issue, vandalism of national infrastructure. We have in our studio Dr. Benito Eze, is a critical national assets and infrastructures, Nigeria Security and Civil Defense School, national headquarters here in Abuja. Dr. Eze, thank you for finding time to join us.
Thank you so much.
Also here with us in the studio is Iwo Nemi. He is Commissioner of Police, Counter-Terrorism Unit of the Nigeria Police Force. CP, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
All right, and then we also welcome a regular guest on Good Morning Nigeria, Engineer Kashim Mali. Engineer Kashim Mali, of course, is a former president of the Council for the Regulation of Engineering in Nigeria, and also at some point former president of the Nigerian Society of Engineers. Engineer Ali, we're glad to have you this morning.
Thank you very much. Good morning.
All right, let's begin with the law enforcement perspective, and then we'll come to Engineer Kashim Ali. Is Nigeria now at the mercy of vandals of critical national infrastructure? CP.
Thank you very much. I would say we are at the mercy of vandals. Efforts are put in place to ensure that we arrest, prosecute all these vandals. In fact, ordinarily the Nigerian police force, we have the duty to protect lives and property, and which we do. And in as well as we do that, we try to ensure that we bring in the public also to give us the necessary information. We can't do it alone. It's something that needs collaboration with other security agencies, with right engagement with the public to ensure that we carry out our job. Like the initial documentary showed, we've been arresting them, but they continue multiplying. So the issue there is that we have to up our game, which we are doing. And like we discussed before we started the program, the issue there is we discovered they come about the whole thing with different patterns and different traces. Like you saw the viral video where somebody was removing a manhole and all that. We're on the trail. You see, when the police is doing their job, most times they say, why are you trying to, disturb the public? Now that man we saw in that video ordinarily says he's a responsible man, very well dressed, with his vehicle, carrying this in a way. Ordinarily, if we say we should stop and search all vehicles, it will be a kind of news, say, why are you disturbing the public? People can move like that. So it is not that we're not acting, we're acting. And that man that you saw in that viral video, we are working on him. And we believe that very soon we shall get to the root of that matter. We shall arrest him.
I'm just wondering how these people act with, like Chief Eleme, blessed memory, would say, with, alacrity. They just act and they get away with it. No form of... Is it that our security is sleeping? Like that man, he was at ease. The man you talked about, the man in the video with his car parked. You could see him. He was not in a haste. He was, carrying that. So where are our security agents? Dr. Eze.
Thank you very much. Let me start this way. In the time past, vandalism of these national assets were not then as rampant as it is now. As the society is developing, that is how the cartel in the business is increasing. But let me inform you or bring to your notice that before any such act can happen, there is gangsterism. It's an arrangement. Because the man that was captured in the camera, if he does not have a process of disposing those materials, he will not continue in that business.
Say, sorry to interject. Let me just add this so that you know where I'm coming from. Sometimes the impression, the allegation, the assumption is that these people act in collaboration with even, security, some security operatives, in the knowledge.
That fact, I will not rule it out completely, because even in every 12, one can always find a Judas. But the security operatives, they are doing their best. Recently, we are coming up with a national protection policy strategy in the protection of critical national asset and infrastructure. All this is as a result of what is happening presently. You can imagine the vandalism of the second Niger bridge. I could remember when I was there in 2018 as the state commandant, Delta State Command. Even the state governor, the road sector commander, road safety, the CP, then, who is the DIG at Adeleke now, all of us were there. So most of the time, we slept over there, starting from the 22nd to 24th. A lot of challenges and pressures were mounted on the people of Nigeria. So ask me, what will somebody be going to increase the pressure on the populace? If not sabotage, if not collaboration with cartels who go about removing all those things, maybe for selfish gains. So the security, they are not sleeping. We are working in collaboration with other agencies. Even what we are looking at now as the lead agency in charge of critical national asset and infrastructure protection is to sectorize the protection of these facilities. Because when it is sectorized, then it will be a multi-agency approach towards finding a lasting solution towards that.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Eze. You've used the word cartel at least more than twice in responding to the questions posed to you, which suggests rather that there is a market for the items that are vandalized. That should be plain common sense, because the vandals don't necessarily need the items that they have stripped off the assets for their own personal use. They would need to dispose of it in a market. And Engineer Kashim, it looks like this market is booming at this time. And it looks also that the market is in public, let me not say public view, because it means I don't know where the market is, but there will be a presumption that if the market were not booming, people will look for other things to do. What is it that is making this so lucrative? You saw the truck in the background of railway sleepers just carted away by vandals, and people just take these things and they walk away. It's possible that I park my car somewhere, remove a manhole cover, put it in my boot, and also just drive away. Nothing will happen to me. I won't do that though. But what's happening, Engineer Kashim?
The market is booming, certainly. And my confusion is why the security agencies seem, in my opinion, to pretend they don't know where the markets are. For instance, a bloody layman like me discovered that there's a market along Kaduna Road, around Suleja, where these manhole covers are taken to. I've had cause to share that with some of them, that look, I heard, but that is what I heard, that they take them to one company there. So I expect, therefore, that they should follow them. Maybe at night, do something like keep following until you take. Because I remember there was a case, and I hope this person is not listening. Somebody was stealing from one company. If I had an agent who was stealing from a company, and they got the rumor. So what they did was, they knew the time the guy would take the thing, and he would drive to a particular. So they followed him gently. They took it. They pretended they didn't know he was taking it. They followed him until they got to the house where he was taking it to. It was there now. They called police. Who went in and they saw the product there. So that confirmed that was the market for that particular. So I don't see what is the big deal about this. The manholes they have been removing. In fact, I witnessed around my area. That is when I became curious. They were removing. One day I didn't find one. I was walking. Then another day I saw another one missing. I saw more missing, and I had to. What is happening? They were saying, no, they take them to this place. And I called somebody and said, look, this is what I heard. And this thing is progressing. So a lot of those things are. But the problem I have really is that even if somebody doesn't oversight you, can't you even be reasonable? There are certain things you shouldn't do as a human being. Just because, okay, if you get the money and you die, what is the use? Because some of this vandalism could lead to even people losing their lives. If you remove a manhole, it's the same poor man who will be walking on the street at night when there's no light. The big man who will drive his car, the worst thing is that he will drive the car into it and then he will pull over. But you who fall into it and lose your life or get
Engineer, that's a therapy that will probably, take some time. When you apprehend the culprit, the suspect, now you can now take time and convince them, say, look, this is your attitude, this habit can lead you to so. But in the time being, my concern or my worry really is, the issue of whether, because we have buyers and sellers, it's just like asking egg and chicken, which comes first. If there are no buyers, you won't have sellers, and if there are no sellers, you won't have buyers. But Engineer Kashim Ali, why is it easy to vandalize these very solid national infrastructures? I'm talking about now the mechanical, and quality of construction of this. Why is it easy for these people with no experience to just go with just small, tool and bam, look at the Niger Bridge, for instance.
I'll tell you why. These things, like if you look at manhole covers, they are called manhole covers to prevent people from falling in. Those holes are necessary for the proper drainage of the roads. And they could get blocked. So it shouldn't be a challenge for you to even remove it, clear the clock, and put it back.
But in other countries, it's only the experts that can do that.
No. Even now, experts are supposed to do it. But non-experts, like in all sectors of our economy, everybody claims to know everything. There are non-state actors that are bearing more sophisticated arms than those who are state actors. So it's the same thing. You see somebody who even thinks he knows better than even the experts. If you allow yourself, somebody can even operate on you in Nigeria without going to medical school. So that is the situation. They are not supposed to be opened except by those authorized. There are many things that we have. Simple thing, Claire. Simple thing like, do you know if you plant a flower in your house, a shrub in your house, you have no right to pull it down, even if you don't like it? There's a law that protects that shrub that you have planted. In Abuja, you could go to jail for cutting it, but people do it. So the same thing. Now, because I say the ease, because when there's a challenge, when there's flooding, for instance, and the manhole is clogged, you need to, a drainage line is clogged, you need to open it quickly and free it for flow. Otherwise, there could be flooding of the environment. So that is why it is that simple.
Look at maybe CP profiling, personal profiling of the mental state of people or any person who could go to the second Niger Bridge and vandalize that asset.
This category of people you see doing this, they put profit, the gain they will get out of it into consideration.
What kind of people are they?
We can see
Are they intelligent people? Are they?
They're intelligent, but they are criminals. They're intelligent, but they are criminals. And then you see the value system have changed completely. People feel that if they can get this thing, they'll get quick money. Can get quick money, and so they have to go to any lengths to vandalize these items. And if you look at it properly, it's not as if the security agents are not doing anything. We've been after them. We have been carrying out raids and all that. But you see, I always say that crime is local. And within the society, within even our communities, we know people who do these things. Somebody will just come overnight and then he won't sleep in the night. He will just go outside, he will come in late in the night, see people getting into his house, going out. They will not report. We need community engagement. We need people that, can tell us most of these things. These people live with us. They live with us. And so we have to understand that what they are doing is, they feel that they are getting money out of it. They're getting profit out of it. And so they tend to perpetuate these things. And so we have to understand that in as well as planning ahead, we're also planning to make sure we beat them.
Yes, CP Nelly, thanks a lot. That's just showing one of the vandalized rail tracks in the country. Engineer Kashim Ali, that was an expansion joint a moment ago. Now, this is the second Niger bridge that was recently vandalized. We know how many decades it took to get the second Niger bridge on stream and then completed. And then all of a sudden, we are seeing these elements who are going there. Engineer Kashim, you were talking about the utility of the manhole covers. Just to also add, before I pop my next question, that some of those manholes, apart from being the ones for drainage, some of them also convey utility cables, utility lines. They are ducts. So that if there is a problem, that's why when you go to advanced countries, you don't see a cobweb of wires and cables along. They take them through those ducts, and when there is a challenge, you go to the manhole cover. As you said, it requires an authorized person to open it. There is some people are familiar with this Allen key that you use for. There is a special tool that you, like that crook was using, the one in the Sienna, who was caught. We discussed him on Good Morning Nigeria last week. The one who was removing that's a manhole cover for you can see this manhole is already clogged. It's already clogged. Already clogged, because again, before you know it, siltation occurs and then overflow on the road and so on and so forth. So that utility duct is also important that you have that to access. But when we say there is a market for vandalized national infrastructure, there is also, I believe, a union or a place where you have scrap metal dealers. You can see obviously discarded, useless metal. There's no problem with that. If a metal is already discarded, wear and tear will occur. But there are scrap metal dealers. What is the level of interaction between the law enforcement agents and the scrap metal dealers, Dr. Eze?
As you rightly said, I believe that if there is no market for these vandalized materials, the vandalism will not be going on. That is one aspect. Another aspect is that for any vandalism of any asset to take place, most of the time there is insider informant. Most especially those people who installed those equipments. They give the information out, and most of the time they aid the vandalism of that material. We are trying, like what I said, to establish sectorization of protection of these assets, whereby we have to make use of respective agencies that are in charge of particular asset. With that, it will help us not only to gather intelligence, but also to be able to infiltrate and get necessary information that will aid effective protection of these assets.
Dr. Eze, my question is as follows. Engineer Kashim Ali informed us of what he heard about some location around Suleja. And you can imagine that in different parts of the country, there will be such depots. There are scrap metal dealers all around. And when you see a scrap metal dealer, in those days, if you had an umbrella that was useless, you could give the umbrella, minus the cover, to you sell it off. You have pounds and plates that you no longer use, you give them away. These are scrap metal dealers. They come, they pick them, and they go. But we are saying that if there is an increase in the removal of components of critical national assets, and these assets obviously are not being utilized by those who are vandalizing them, they must have a market where they are disposing of these items. That's why I asked, what is the interaction between the law enforcement agents and scrap metal dealers? What is their rule of engagement? What do you buy?
We make use of our intelligence system, and we collaborate with them to give us necessary information. There is even an interception that was done by our personnel in Kavanchan on Monday, where from intelligence, we were able to intercept a truck that is loaded with 860 railway panels. And it was as a result of intelligence that we were able to intercept them, because they covered the materials with ordinary sacks. But before they got to their destination, we had already trailed them and we were able to intercept them. So we have effective collaboration. Even with the Korean.
I'm sorry, CP. I would like you to also weigh in here.
Okay.
Look, because I don't know what the immediate example to cite. Scrap metal dealing is legitimate business. That's why it's called scrap metal. But there are also rules of engagement. What should you buy? If I see a manhole cover with the stamp engraved on it, and this Nigerian Foundries Limited, I think they used to be in Lagos. I don't know whether they still operate. They had a factory somewhere just near the airport there in Lagos. But I see Nigerian Foundries Limited, and it's a manhole cover, and that manhole cover doesn't look like scrap. Should I buy it? Or what is my reporting obligation if I'm a scrap metal dealer?
See, that's where patriotism comes in. These are criminals. They are criminals. They have criminal intention. The people that are getting these things from them to have criminal intention.
Yes. I'm sorry to interrupt. That's the
man.
You
know,
you see,
this picture is quite clear, but there's a little this thing we need to work on.
No problem. Don't get into the details. But you're watching.
Yes, I know. You know, I started with that.
You see, he brought out a tool to use for that purpose.
He does bagger. You see? Yeah? This is not a poor man.
It's not. That's what I'm saying.
It's an intelligent, you know. You see?
You will see the tool he brings out from the back.
It's somebody that is familiar with this territory.
Yes.
See, you see that tool that he's using?
Yeah, very fast.
That's right.
Bagger.
Okay. My question is related to this.
Yes.
Now, the gentleman who, the man in the video, probably doesn't need that manhole cover for his own use. So he's going to dispose of it. And I'm saying that, look, it comes to me as a scrap metal dealer. And what he has removed there, probably, whether it has a stamp of Nigerian Foundries or not, is certainly not scrap. What are the rules of engagement that will say, no, this is not an item I should purchase, or even if he brings it as, okay, no problem, come tomorrow, I don't have enough cash now, or I make a transfer, and then I inform the police.
Oh, yes.
He's not even bothered.
Thank you. See, when such things happen, if you are patriotic enough, you inform the police. The police will now set up a team to make sure they arrest whoever must have brought those items. But in most cases, there's that connivance. The person that you take these items to is also party, like like this man mentioned. It's a syndicate.
A cartel.
A cartel, They would like to take these items to people that can easily, take them. It's like taking your car to a mechanic. And then your mechanic will say, this car been parked for long, maybe under customer's car. This car been parked for long. Can I just remove a small thing from the other car and then fix in your car? It depends on how strong you are, how convicted you are. You say, no, please don't tamper with that car. So it depends on who you are, and then the sort of patriotism you have for the country. Most people like cheap things. They like to buy cheap things, and so when things like this come, no matter the emblem, no matter the label on it, they would like to buy it. And that is why when you look at when we arrest, and they are convicted, most times the sentence for the man that purchased the item is even more than the thief. That's the man that removed the item. Because if there is no market, if there's nobody that is purchasing these things, you cannot sell. You cannot sell.
Engineer Kashim, how can we make this things get more difficult for people like this? How can we make it difficult for them to, cut away with these assets easily?
Okay. Even before we get there, I want to take us back a bit. This rule of engagement. In most businesses, there are rules of engagement. Example, I once tried to interview these people selling forex.
Scraps.
No, even forex. I say, what is the guarantee? There are so many of you are marketing like you are selling akara. How is the guarantee that somebody will not get a fake dollar? They say nobody, none of them dare sell fake dollar. That, in fact, somebody told me that they could kill the person. On their own, they could do on.
There will be sanctions, severe sanctions.
Thank you very much for that. So there could be the severity of the punishment is such that nobody would dare do that. The people who also make keys, if you lose your duplicate keys, they have. In fact, they will document everything about you before they can make the key, even if it's for your house, and they even show it's in your house. There has to be documentation. There has to be also a rule of engagement for these people who buy scrap, because the factory where these things will be processed are not cheap factories, because you need furnace. You need to take temperatures in excess of sometimes about 1,000 degrees centigrade to melt all these things and convert them to whatever you want to convert them to. So it can't be a small factory. So the people therefore cannot be said to be just ordinary business people or ordinary criminals. There should be a rule of. So if you bring in a plate that has NFL, that is Nigerian Foundries Limited, it means you already have a source for that product, and they all have numbers.
That's right. I've seen that.
They have numbers. They have numbers.
Yes.
So you can easily trace the origin of that product. Why will you take it and melt it? So if there is but perhaps there's no rule of engagement. If there is none, please, there is need for it. They have registers of all scraps they receive. They must produce it. They must register all scraps and their sources, so that way even the people who are bringing will be careful.
Who regulates this Panteca? Because I know that when they go there, who regulates the activities?
Before we get there, you asked the question.
Yes,
I want to do what we can technically. What do you know? What we have done in Abuja, for instance, very funny. I recall, I know our transformers. Initially, they used to vandalize our transformers, so we have to construct heavy concrete structures to put at both ends, the back and the front of the transformer. So even if you want to open it, you have to first of all stick the concrete mold, which is super heavy. You need a crane to move the concrete. But again, that is also making us lose the beauty of the transformer, because the transformers are designed for urban use, so they are a bit beautiful, that they could complement the aesthetics.
Yes, to the aesthetics
of the environment. But because of that problem, we have to mold concrete, which we now use to cover. So what you see is concrete and some structures in between. When you have a problem, a little problem that needs you're switching on, they now have to go and look, AEDC has to go and look for crane to come and move before. It's a lot of problem. And if you have to transfer the cost of all those kind of works to the consumer, it's a problem. If not, it's not like that. But I also we want to ask questions before we see what is best practice, so-called. There's nowhere in the world where you manufacture transformers and put special locks for people not to have access beyond the regular locks. So if you want to do that, if I think at one time some of my colleagues went to Turkey, they say, you guys go and design it yourself because we don't understand what you are saying. How can anybody want to even open a transformer? What business has he or she got to do with it?
We'll make our innovation.
So now the challenge that we have is that if I was calling, I say, okay, yes, I think this is a challenge to us. Perhaps we could begin to design our own now and incorporate those security features in them.
Precisely.
But before we get there, I was discussing with a manufacturer, because I really wanted to see if we could get a solution. There are manufacturers some transformers in Calabar, export-free zone. But unfortunately, when government of Nigeria wants to buy the transformers, they will go outside to go and import. So they had transformers that are in Calabar that nobody is buying, but they buy the same thing or even other ones from outside the country. So he said there has to be patronage. When there's guaranteed patronage that they're going to do, then they can now begin to design those features. So that at least, because if they do it now without any such guarantee, then they will lose money because they won't be competitive at all. So those are the challenges that we need to deal with. But certainly, for every challenge, there are solutions. Engineering solution is something that you normally think out of the box and get them. It's not a problem to deal with.
But in terms of law and order, are there sufficient sanctions to deter both the vandals and the buyers and then the smelters? A couple of years ago, there was a conviction of some Chinese nationals in Jos area, Plateau, and it seemed to have been a slap on the wrist. Because we had on that occasion, we had a conversation in which the managing director of the Nigerian Railway Corporation was one of our guests. And he pointed out that, yes, for railways, they have scrap metal properly identified as scrap, and it will be in their yard. And that there are also accredited buyers of such scrap from the Nigerian railways. So as Engineer Kashim was saying, when you are buying, you say these are the items. It's like your government is boarding its discarded items or unused items or disused items. You take it out, and then the person who buys is accredited, and then he also takes it to the smelter. But now it looks like everyone is in the game. Everybody is there. Civil defense. Do you also visit, pay unscheduled visits to these smelter plants where these things take place, or even to the market themselves? Organize raids or sting operations?
Yes, we do. And we do all this based on information. When we get intelligence concerning a particular incident, we send our undercover operatives who give us enough actionable intelligence before we can have a strike. The aspect of giving necessary punishment to most of these offenders is also another area that the National Protection Policy and Strategy looked at. Like the case of the incident that happened some time ago in Benue State, where there was an interception of a truck carrying 980 railway slippers. And at the end, the judgment that was even given to the offenders was just mere 1 year imprisonment. It was not commensurate to the level of the offense committed. So we are working collaboratively with intelligence agencies too. And whenever we get necessary information, we give them and we share across among ourselves.
Yeah, there was also the embarrassing incident. We also discussed that on Good Morning Nigeria a couple of years ago, where your men apprehended a trucker conveying the contraband metal, scrap or otherwise, and then another security agency and their officers decided to engage you. You remember that incident?
I remember.
I don't want to get into the details. I don't know how you sorted it out, but you said at that time we were told that they were going to sort it out. One had superior firepower, and I think the others had to take cover, and then allowed them to proceed. But CP Nemi, I'm not a security operative, but it would appear on the face of it insufficient to say you are waiting for intelligence. If we know there is already a problem, and a national problem, embedment is not ruled out. So why will it be difficult, for instance, to plant? Let's not get into details. Plant persons amongst the traders, amongst the dealers, and so on and so forth, and then you get your feedback, and then you know how to disrupt that market, destabilize the market, and put them out of business.
Thank you. You know, it's not difficult, actually. We have our men, we have our intelligence men. Even at the divisional level, we have people in the DCB who go around sniffing for information to, for us to strike. As a DP, ordinarily, once you hear information that so and so thing is happening, you arrange your men. We have the surveillance team. Most DPOs have their surveillance team. They're on quick action, quick response. Once there's a report, then you get that quick response, then they'll go and strike. And most times too, we depend on information. Yes, actually information, we work on that. But when you see our men on patrol, for instance, and then they are somewhere in the night and then discover a strange movement, suspicious movement, you see our men going there to make arrests. We've arrested several of them. I worked in the division where we had so many of these materials around us. So many of these access buyers and items like that. And it is due to our boys, the operative surveillance. Because they're able to, go out in the night. We patrol 24 hours in the night. We have our men who are on duty at various posts. We post our men to various areas. If they get any information, they just call the patrol team. And, we also have the control room, for instance. Like as this incident happened, if, for instance, they would have called the control room number, he will allow the nearest police patrol team around there. Then they will strike. We don't totally rely on information from the public. We also act. As sting operation, we just go ahead and act. And there are times to build information and then make sure that we go out and operate. Once we operate, it could be a raid, complete raid of a particular area. And these criminals, like I said, they are very intelligent. Once you raid this side, they'll change location. And I give it to the Nigerian police most times because they try to make sure that anywhere they go, if we get information, the man there, the DPO there, or whoever it is, they have to act.
All right, CP, this is an old saying, without being sounding like a cliche. Drastic situations require drastic measures.
Yes.
Vandalism of national infrastructure, especially with what has happened to the second Niger bridge. It pains me. It so pains me because I know how many successive governments, it has taken to get to where it is now. For somebody, an individual Nigerian, to go there to vandalize it, it's and the penalty is like Dr. Eze is saying, it's not severe enough to deter others who may want to do. We all know the predisposing factors for this vandalism. What can we do to deter them? Luckily, we have the police, we have the NCDC, and we have the Nigerian Society of Engineers. Let's start from Engineer Kashim Ali.
I think one critical thing is advocacy. If we look at what happened on Second Niger Bridge, is a pedestrian walkway that was affected, who will walk on the walkway? Is it a rich man? It's the same poor person that was used as a pawn to do that thing that will be a victim. In the event of something happening, it's a victim will come from amongst the poor, because the poor big man will drive on the major carriageway with his car. And the expansion joint, the truth about it is that why we provide expansion joint in structures is because of temperature variation. There's usually the expansion of the structures. So when it is at a certain time, it will open up. At another time, it will close. But in between, it should be such that it can close without injury. So when they are coming together, they come together very close, but they will not hit each other as to cause accident. And the same thing. So the structure can remain without the joint protect. These joints are protected, one, for aesthetics, and for ease of movement of the users. So structurally, the bridge is not affected. So let people know.
But that's how it starts.
Exactly.
The bridge is not affected, but that's how it starts.
Exactly. No, because the person, one day they may have use, because it's funny ideas people get. Sometimes they say, why were they destroying transformers? Because they say there's mercury. They want to take it. That is all they are looking for, to go in there and take the mercury. So they vandalize everything to just reach there. The technology has even changed on the account of that, and technology will continue to change. Now, somebody would have told them that this element is something that maybe they can go and melt it and get something, particular product out of it. Not necessarily that so we need advocacy is critical. Number one. Number two, you see, there's this thing we had before, and I use for our policies. We should be careful when we change policies, please. We should just be careful. If some things are thought through, if you want to change them, think through them too before you change them, not just by fiat. You know, those days we used to have the federal highways, we have to have our road camps, and the road camps were in specific areas, and you had your sections. The sections were always very short for you to even walk or ride bicycle. So if somebody was in charge, for instance, workers were in charge of the bridge, for the beauty of the bridge, they could say, okay, let me even see the condition of the bridge at night. And perhaps they could run into this thing happening. Yes. But because somebody knows this is my job, this space is mine, from here to here is mine. There's a way he or she, the group will manage it. And they are always in touch with it, because I was a divisional engineer at the beginning of my career. And I know how the DPOs are your best friend, because even accidents occur, you do sit down with them to do analysis. What really happened? Is it a pothole that you left on the road, or the curb is dangerous, and everything? You do the analysis with the police. So the police and the people were working together, and therefore you could report easily. There's just one call. No process of saying, who will I even call? Will I call somebody who is the police headquarters, or let that be done? No, that is number two. Number three is that, you see, people who have to do our traditional system, they have to be more relevant to the society. You know, the traditional people also used to talk to people about certain things. Get them to understand the benefit of a product to them, that this product, even though it's brought by the government, it is for the benefit of people. So you are the part owner, and it's your tax money that was used. Let people not feel disengaged from government, because people always say this is for government and this is not for us. So if we can deal with those issues, I'm sure we can do. But because engaging is expensive technology for monitoring, it's not that it's not possible. It's very easy, but it's very expensive. And even that, they become a victim of another level of vandalism. So it's still more expensive.
Engineer Kashim Ali and gentlemen, many young Nigerians will not now know that on our expressways, there used to be aluminum crash barriers. So it's when they jackpot now, they say, oh, see how our abroad looks like. When the expressways were newly constructed, there were aluminum crash barriers. Accidented in some cases, but mostly they were vandalized. Yes. And bridges also, you saw that nowadays, the crash barriers in bridges are being made of concrete. Which, of course, in terms of, sometimes I've asked myself that question. Yeah. Yes.
You say something?
Yes, please, yes.
You know, why we're using those ones, because the idea of crash barrier is really crash barrier. So you could see heat without dying. Because the section will pull back, and but it will hold your car in place, and you will not die. But with concrete, it's head on. You hit it hits you by straight away. So, but we have had to take that decision because of vandalism. Today, all our guardrails are all of concrete. Very, very dangerous, unacceptable in other societies.
What is wrong with us? In the 80s and in the 90s, say on Lagos roads, if we were on Mobolaji Bank Anthony Way and parts of Ikorodu Express, and I think Western Avenue, there were what you call cat's eyes. These were like reflectors at night, demarcating the lanes, so that even if there was no power supply,
yes, you could find your way.
You could find it. It's like you are. It's like if you are at the airport. So at some point, these same vandals started removing them. I heard then that they said they were looking for mercury.
Yes.
Maybe all the wash guys who were doing 419. They started removing them until they removed everything, and of course there was no replacement. So, but I don't know, Engineer Kashim, you've been speaking for a long time, but I still have a question for you. Is there an ethical issue from the engineering perspective? Look, smelting this is not an illiterate business. It requires some level of training in metallurgy or some other. Are there ethical engineering issues? And if so, how might COREN or the body of engineers address this?
Honestly, of course, they are ethical. Whether the person is a craftsman, a technician, technologist, or engineer, it's the ethical issues, because there are certain things you shouldn't do. For instance, like I said, once you see a material that has a label with number, you shouldn't smelt it unless it has been certified as like the railway would do, to certified as scrap. But before then, you shouldn't do. So the ethical issue quite. But the truth is, until somebody arrests them, whoever is involved, and the matter is reported, COREN cannot actually do anything, because COREN hasn't the power of investigation. That's resides with the security agency. But once anybody is caught, for instance, apart from your criminal trial, we also do ethical trials, so that you could lose your license to practice and you will not be able to go back to such trade again.
So, you know, I just got a viewer's message now, and say the bottom line of everything is that because there's no severe punishment for crimes, so people take advantage of what is happening.
Yes,
CP.
That's true. You know, when you investigate and then you prosecute, at the end of the day, you discover that the punishment is not commensurate to whatever effort you have put in. It discourages even the law enforcement agents, and also even encourages the vandal, because he feels, after all, it's just to go 1 year and all that. But I know that section, I think section 431 of the Constitution, 1999 as amended, states the charge, the penalties for that, and then you discover that the least you can get, if it's in misdemeanor, is just 2 years.
So section.
I think that should be section 451 or that, yeah.
No, that's not the Constitution. But just go ahead.
Okay,
yes.
so now the issue there is it the code of the criminal code?
Criminal code.
Yeah, criminal code. Yeah. So what I'm saying, in effect, is that once you put in all the efforts and then you discover that the man you charge to court tomorrow comes around to say, after all, what is there? That is why I tend to support the idea that the penalty should be more grievous.
Civil defense. Have we had any instance where, for instance, a receiver, like say a big company where this metal that have been vandalized are smelted, where that company itself has been punished? You can also punish a company, either by closure or sentencing of the directors of the company. Do we have any such incidents? Or when you are drafting your charges, you don't include those persons as accessories to the offense?
We have had incidents like that. in which both the receiver and the giver, the seller, were all liable. And they were all charged to court. Though they brought their own lawyer to defend themselves, but eventually that particular company was sealed. We have had cases like that.
Sealed for how long? Sealed, were they also fined?
No, they were sealed and fined, but the way they went about to got back to business is no longer our business, because our own stops at arrest, investigate, prosecute, and whatever is the outcome from the judiciary is no longer our own responsibility.
Yes. The section 451 of the Criminal Code Act in Nigeria you quoted, and I just want to read 2C of it, which applies to our issue. It says if the property in question, being a railway or being any such bridge, is damaged, and the damage is done with intent to render the railway bridge or highway, railway, canal, passing over or under the same or any part thereof, dangerous, impassable, same or any part thereof is thereby rendered dangerous or impassable, the offender is guilty of a felony and is liable to imprisonment for life.
For life.
No, that's felony.
Now, if somebody goes to the court and then the person is not sentenced for life and then comes back to the society, how do you explain it? So the fact there is that the punishment there, most cases, is grievous. And then we try to make sure we end our own in the courts. We take these people to court, we charge them.
Well, when you have a sentence prescribed in a piece of legislation, that sentence is the maximum.
Yes.
And the trial judge does not have an obligation to impose that maximum sentence for this kind of felony, provided it's not a capital offense. Even in a capital offense, it could then be reduced to manslaughter, from murder to manslaughter, and of course the penalty is not the same. You could get a lesser offense, you could get a lesser punishment for that. But it's the severity and the regularity and the publicity given to persons who have been convicted.
Exactly.
To serve as a deterrent.
Exactly.
We don't seem to see this person.
We don't even know.
We don't seem to know. The public doesn't seem to know. But there's another issue, very quickly, and this is part of your closing thoughts now, because we are wrapping up. Okay. Part of the stories we keep hearing has to do with interagency rivalry. Sometimes, I'm not saying the police in particular or the civil defense or any other agency, it looks like when law enforcement officers see an offense being committed in their view, including the removal perhaps of this infrastructure, they look away. Waiting concern me. Just last week on today is Wednesday. It must have been on Friday. Yes, on Friday. I was on the Sani Abacha Expressway, inward life camp, and a cyclist was struck by a bus driver just after the Wuse Market Bridge. There was a VIO vehicle, at least two or three vehicles behind me. The driver of the VIO vehicle trafficated as if he was going to pull over. And they just continued, and I saw that the cyclist was on the ground there, and these casual laborers were the ones who were running to come and pick him. Eventually, the VIO driver continued and then entered this place at Mabushi. So why is it that law enforcement agents don't seem fully apprised of their duty at all times? At all times. So instead of looking away, if two people are fighting on the street now, that's an offense, an affray. Yeah. But you say, waiting concern me. Why is that so?
Well, you see, these are isolated cases. I know that most times we collaborate effectively, partner with our sister organizations, like the NSCDC, even Nigerian Army. You know, there are times they call us, we work out something, and then, in fact, there are joint operations we carry out. Like this VIO case you're talking about now. You discover that maybe that particular driver is not properly educated. He's just carrying a vehicle around, and then because he's carrying that VIO vehicle, the impression is that all VIO people don't cooperate. No, we cooperate with them effectively. There are times they even invite us to assist them in one thing or the other. The police we work together. And we can't just say that there is this rivalry. There is, but then it's not to that extent to which it is being amplified. Because most times we carry out joint operations. We have community engagement where we say, okay, this information have come in. How do we go about it? We all sit down together, plan operations together, go out together. Granted, in association cases, we have this rivalry coming up, but I think it's fast dying, because these days, if you look at the level of interaction we have now, this interoperability is so much that we operate together. We go on raid, we go on exercises, even simulation. We have simulations together, like we have this national response team or unit where we are in the presidency in the villa.
CP, I'm sorry.
Carry out, yes.
I'm sorry. I have to stop here at this. Our time is fast spent, unfortunately. But I want to believe that at least we'll now keep a better eye on these national assets, and try to respond proactively, not reactively. Engineer Kashim Ali has also talked about the need for the agencies that are involved, the NOA, for instance, to do more of sensitization of the implications of this act and the importance of these national assets. I'd like to thank Commissioner of Police.
But is it not shocking to anyone that an airport as busy as Murtala Mohammed Airport, Lagos, vandals will go and remove the runway lights?
I know, but Commissioner of Police, I'd like to thank you, because I don't want you to begin again, because Iwonemi Counter-Terrorism Unit, Nigeria Police Force, thank you. But that's a food for thought for you, and your men. Let me also thank Dr. Benito Eze, Critical National Assets and Infrastructure, Nigeria Security and Civil Defense Co. National Headquarters. Thank you very much. Engineer Kashim Ali is our in-house analyst. We'd like to thank you. Thank you very much, sir, for joining us. And of course, he was former president, Nigerian Society of Engineers, NSE, Council for the Regulation of Engineering in Nigeria, COREN. And that's Good Morning Nigeria for today, Wednesday, midweek edition. We thank you for watching. Please join us again tomorrow morning, that's Thursday. And always remember to partner us in our fight against rape and rapists. I am Claire Adelabu Abdulrazak.
And I'm Kingsley Osalola. Look after yourselves.